The 2016 Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series, brought to you from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting. The race for the 3rd Congressional District.
Good evening. I'm Rickey Bevington, senior anchor and correspondent for Georgia Public Broadcasting in Atlanta. Welcome to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series, originating from the GPB studios in Atlanta. This is the debate among the candidates in Georgia's 3rd Congressional District. The 3rd Congressional District covers most of west central Georgia. It includes Carroll, Coweta, Meriwether, and part of Fayette counties. And now let's meet the candidates. They are in alphabetical order. Drew Ferguson is a family dentist and the mayor of West Point, Georgia. Angela Pendley has worked in the healthcare field for nearly 2 decades as an independent contractor. And now let's meet our panelists. Maggie Lee is a freelance reporter specializing in state and metro Atlanta government and politics. Neely is a reporter for the Newnan Times-Herald. Elly is an award-winning journalist for 90.1 WABE, where she focuses on immigration and state politics. Tonight's debate will consist of 3 rounds. For more information on the rules for each round, please visit the Atlanta Press Club website, atlantapressclub.org. Now let's get started in the first round. Each candidate will be asked one question by one of our panelists. Candidates have 60 seconds to answer the question. Maggie Lee, you get the first question of Angela Pendley.
Hi, Ms. Pendley. Let's talk a little bit about health care, about the Affordable Care Act, about Obamacare, which plenty of Republicans want to appeal. What would an ideal federal health care policy look like to you, and what are your thoughts on the Affordable Care Act?
My thoughts on the Affordable Care Act is that it has helped 40 million Americans. In Georgia, it has not been as successful as it has been in other states which have accepted federal tax funds which citizens have paid in income tax that were offered to the state to expand Medicare and Medicaid, which would keep rural hospitals from closing. What I would like to do to assist with that is not make it mandatory that states participate in accepting federal funds, but to make it to where any governing body that refuses taxpayer dollars in the form of services or dollars, that they let the people know, and they let the people know why they've refused that money.
Thank you. Elly, you get the next question to Drew Ferguson.
Mr. Ferguson, a similar question on a similar topic. You've said that the Affordable Care Act should be repealed on multiple occasions. What would you propose to replace it with?
Elly, thank you for the question. And yes, I do believe that Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act should be repealed. It is an abject failure. It is something that continues to kill jobs in the state of Georgia. It really has the unintended consequences of raising premiums on families, on working class families, and it quite candidly is destroying the medical profession. We are beginning to see for the first time bright minds leave private practice. There is absolutely not one single thing that Obamacare has done that we can point to that is consistently positive, and expanding it further is just more insanity. What we do need is a market-based solution. Really allow insurance companies to compete across state lines, put the decisions back in the hands between the healthcare provider and the individual patient. It's what I do in my dental practice. I've done it successfully for 24 years, and we know that the private sector is the right way to go for this.
Thank you both. That concludes our first round. In the second round, the candidates will ask one question of each other. Both will have 30 seconds to ask the question, 60 seconds to respond to the question, and 30 seconds for a rebuttal. By random selection, Ms. Pendley, you get the first question.
Dental caries is the most common infectious disease affecting human beings. Amalgam is commonly used to fill cavities, and it contains mercury. People who have mercury amalgam fillings absorb small amounts of mercury. The EPA estimates that 40 to 50% of mercury in wastewater processed at public treatment plants comes from dental amalgam. The use of mercury amalgam for dental fillings has already been banned in several European nations, and it should also be banned in the United States. Resin
5 seconds to
composite
get to the question.
fillings should replace the use of mercury amalgam. Are you aware of peer-reviewed worldwide research since the 1990s which suggests heavy metals such as
Please ask
mercury
the question, Ms.
play
Pendley.
a critical role in pathogenesis of autism spectrum disorder?
Am I aware of that? Yes, I am aware of the research that the American Dental Association has done to ensure that amalgams are a safe alternative in certain situations. I use a variety of products in my dental practice to take care of the patients. And for you to sit there and say that there is concrete proof that is harmful is quite uninformed, and it is wrong. The American Dental Association and the Council on Scientific Research holds true to the fact that dental amalgams are a safe alternative. They are not always our first choice, but there is a certain need to it. And to suggest that 40 to 50% of mercury waste recovered in any municipal treatment plant comes from dental amalgams really, I think, is an uninformed point. We handle that through pre-treatment in our dental offices and in the wastewater treatment plants of our local municipalities and county water systems. It is one option that is available for the care of patients, and we always do what is in the best interest of those patients.
Thank you for sticking to time. Mr. Ferguson, it is now your turn to ask a question.
Sure. I'd like to go back to the first topic that we talked about. In your support of Obamacare, can you explain to the people of Georgia and the 3rd District how a program that has almost doubled individuals' premiums, more than quadrupled their deductibles, that has driven access to care down, it has restricted people's ability to get care. Can you explain to the people of the 3rd Georgia how expanding Medicare would be good for this economy and good for their health care?
It would lower their premiums by allowing people who have low income to receive health care, which would provide health insurance companies a safety net, and rural hospitals a safety net for people who cannot afford health insurance. This would keep the hospitals from closing, as they are required by law to accept or provide payment or provide a service for anyone who cannot provide a payment.
As I was monitoring the time, I failed to give Ms. Pendley a 30-second rebuttal to the initial question. So let's do this to stay on time. I will give you a 30-second rebuttal to that, and then I will let you offer a rebuttal to the original question. Does that work for both of you? Okay,
Certainly.
Thank you very much. 30 seconds.
You state that premiums will go down. I know of nowhere in the state of Georgia where premiums have actually dropped. I can tell you in my own personal experience, our premiums have more than doubled. And I can tell you as a healthcare provider, one of the things that is beginning to happen is that we are beginning to see a less of an access to care for people most in need because of this program. I think that the policy is flawed, and I cannot believe you continue to support it.
Ms. Pendley, I'd like to offer you 30 seconds to rebut the original question.
I cannot believe that Republicans in the Georgia Assembly refused to accept taxpayer dollars to expand Medicaid and Medicare, which would have helped Georgia citizens who have paid into this federal tax dollars through income tax. That money was offered to the state to expand Medicaid and Medicare, and they refused it. And that would have helped the people. And
5 seconds. We're at time. Thank you for sticking to time. We are back on track, and that concludes round 2 of this debate. For those just joining us, this is the debate between the candidates in Georgia's 3rd Congressional District. We will now go to our third and final round. In this round, each panelist will ask a question to the candidate of his or her choice until we run out of time. As a point of moderator privilege, I may also ask a question of the candidates, and I will determine when a rebuttal is appropriate. Clay Neely, you have the first question.
Hi, this question is for Drew Ferguson. Georgia has not added any interstate mileage since 1990, has not added any new freeway or principal or arterial roads since 2000. As a potential representative for the 3rd District, how would you work to expand our current interstate system in order to take advantage of the Port of Savannah?
Well, certainly the Port of Savannah is vital to not only Georgia's economy, but to this nation's economy. And I can tell you firsthand that it has had a tremendous impact and is one of the reasons that we have seen a phenomenal growth in advanced manufacturing in the automotive industry here in West Georgia. I can tell you that we need to do more to expand road access to various parts of the state where those counties and those areas simply do not have access to an interstate system, and it hurts their economic development potential. I think most importantly, the most important role that we can do is to help support the state's comprehensive plan on transportation, and as a representative for the 3rd District of Georgia, that is something we're prepared to do.
Would you like a rebuttal? 30 seconds, please.
From what I know, the military has offered suggestions to Congress about improving the roadways around Tybee Island and in around Savannah due to the rising sea levels because of global warming. But Congress has refused to accept those suggestions that our military has offered, and I believe that accepting the suggestions that the military offers would.
Thank you both very much. Maggie Lee, your turn to ask a question.
Sure, I'll ask a question to Drew Ferguson. In Congress, we've seen discussions about banning high-capacity magazines, assault weapons, expanding background checks for gun sales. How far do you think the rights in the Second Amendment go? What are?
I think the rights of the Second Amendment are clearly spelled out. It is my right as an American to protect my family and to bear and to own arms. I do not support any infringement upon that whatsoever. I will fight vehemently to deny the liberal agenda and the liberals and the liberal Democrats in Congress, the Senate, and if Hillary Clinton is so elected, we will fight her on this as well. That is something that we absolutely cannot give and will not give ground on. Period. We look at what is happening to our individual rights throughout this nation. We have seen an erosion of them at an exponential rate over the last 8 years. And if what you want is more of that type of policy, this is the kind of candidate that you can support. That is not something that I will support, and I will defend the Second Amendment every single day that I'm in Congress.
Ms. Pendley, 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
I'm an independent running as a Democrat. This is Georgia, and I like deer meat. I'm not going to infringe upon the Second Amendment.
Thank you both very much. Elly, your opportunity to ask a question.
This question is for both candidates. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has said on a number of occasions that if he doesn't win, the election might be rigged. Would you accept the results of the presidential election and the results of this election?
We'll begin with you, Ms. Pendley, and then Mr.
I'm sorry, I
Ferguson.
misunderstood the question.
Will you accept the results of the election in light of claims that the election might be rigged?
Yes.
And there.
Yes, of course. We will always accept a certified result of an election. Listen, there have been so many questions regarding Mr. Trump and Ms. Clinton on this campaign. We as candidates get asked those questions all of the time. Do you support the nominee for your party? Let me say this, absolutely. We get questions about how could you possibly support your nominee. I never get asked the question, how could I possibly support the Democratic nominee? I do not condone what Mr. Trump has said, but I condemn many of the things that Mrs. Clinton has said and done. More importantly, what she's done. There's no way that we can simply support a candidate that has allowed four members to die in Benghazi, that has lied consistently to the American people and to the FBI, and has left a trail of scorched earth behind her for the last 30 years that that I'm not sure we will ever heal. But I will say this: for many people in the media, they wonder why in the world someone can support Donald Trump. I think what most people fail to realize is that Donald Trump is America's middle finger to a system that they believe is broken. And they are tired. Americans are tired of being left behind. They are tired of being disenfranchised. And right now, let me say this, that Donald Trump is our nominee, and we're going to support the nominee because we simply cannot afford to have Hillary Clinton as our president.
Thank you both very much. Clay, Neely, we are back to you to ask a question.
This question is for Angela. On your website, you address the need to reduce pollution and waste. Can you give us a specific example of not only where this is happening, but what you would plan to do about this?
Well, plastics are an issue in the world, and we have 2 islands of plastic floating around, and it's due to waste and people just throwing things out the window of cars. These things need to be cleaned up. Think that inmates may earn some form of payment for being able to buy certain food items while they're in prison by going out and cleaning up on the side of the roads. It's possible that we could get some Navy ships with nets to go out into the ocean to grab up those plastic bottles or whatever's plastic in the ocean. Just try to clean up the world so we have a better place to live in.
Thank you very much. Maggie Lee.
In the presidential debate, the
Who is
candidate.
this question for?
Oh, I'm sorry. A question for both of you. In the presidential debate, the candidates sparred about undocumented migrants, border security, the possibility of a wall, about deportations. We're talking about maybe 11 million undocumented migrants in the United States. What should U.S. policy be with regard to these people?
Mr. Ferguson, we will begin with you.
The most important part of our immigration policy must begin with securing the border. That is not mean-spirited, it is common sense. We have to define our borders, we know where they are, we have to protect those borders, and we cannot simply allow having an open border policy, as Mrs. Clinton has indicated that she would support. What we have to do is to make sure that our nation's safe. It is the first and primary responsibility of a government to its people is to maintain safety. As for the 11 million people that are estimated to be here illegally, let's have that conversation down the road, but let's do the first things first and let's secure that border. The American workforce is diverse. There's many places for people to go to work, and we can find the right answer. But the American people simply will not trust any solution until we secure the border.
Ms. Pendley?
The George W. Bush administration came up with a idea for providing guest worker visas for migrant workers in the United States, which I think would allow immigrants and their employers to abide by the law. And I would like to encourage people to abide by the law.
Thank you both very much. Elly, you.
This question is for Ms. Pendley. On your website, you say you want to empower, among other things, small businesses in your district. How do you propose to make your district a place where small businesses will thrive?
Well, I actually went to a budget meeting with the county commissioners in Coweta County and encouraged the commissioners to accept the budget that was proposed for increasing taxes on residents, although there are some exemptions, such as the homestead and the senior citizen exemption. But these things would provide for safety for the people to go and frequent businesses, and once people feel safe in their community, then they're more likely to go out in it.
Mr. Ferguson.
Sure. As I sit here and listen to this, and I think to myself, what's coming from your platform? Higher taxes, increased support of Obamacare, increased regulation. As a United States Congressman, I will make this firm commitment to make this nation the greatest place on the planet to do business. We must reduce taxes, we must reduce regulation, and we must reform education and put it back in the hands of the local communities. We simply cannot do things like continue to raise taxes and strangle our small businesses.
Ms. Pendley, would you like 30 more
The
seconds?
taxes on the small businesses in Coweta County were actually lowered. The impact fees that businesses were paying has been eliminated. Also, the taxes in Coweta County had not been raised in 6 years, but there have been growth, and the taxes needed to be raised in order to supply jobs for new teachers and other public services, which the growth of the population incurred.
Thank you both very much. We have time for one more question, and that goes to you, Clay Neely.
This question's for Drew Ferguson. On your website, you emphasize the need for, obviously, a strong military, despite the Pentagon's announcement to reduce the number of active duty soldiers to 450,000. How exactly do you plan to not only acquire the necessary funding, but to help revitalize the military?
Well, first of all, I think understanding why we need a military is so important, and it's not only to keep ourselves safe, but here at home, but it is to make sure that we promote American policy that ensures that we can maintain our freedoms around the world. Our freedoms, our ability to choose and live our lives the way that we want to, is clearly under attack both internally and externally. If we are going to defend ourselves, we must have a strong military. In order to do that, in order to fund that military, we must have a vibrant national economy. And as I have said earlier, the most important things that we can do are listen to our business community and reduce the corporate taxes that are there, reduce the regulations, eliminate the regulations that simply don't make sense, and make sure that we've got the best prepared workforce in the world, right here in the state of Georgia and in this nation. If we have a vibrant economy, we build the relationships that we need to in Congress, and we make defense of our freedoms a priority, we will find the funding, we will fund a strong military, and we will fund the programs necessary to take care of our men and women when they return home.
Ms. Pendley, would you like to rebut? Okay. We have time for me to ask a quick question. We have not discussed transportation. And I realize the 3rd District of Georgia does not include Atlanta, and everybody thinks Atlanta questions or transportation are just Atlanta, but that's not the case. I'd like to ask each of you to talk about your transportation platform.
Sure.
30 seconds each.
Sure. Making sure that Georgians are connected to their place of work, making sure they can move freely throughout the state is one of the most important things. But making sure that our business and industry can move products around this state is vital. Making sure that we have access to the Port of Savannah, making sure that the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport continues to operate at a high level, making sure that Georgia is a great place to do business is a vital goal of any transportation plan. I believe that the United States Congress can play a role in that, but I also believe that supports Georgia's visioning for transportation needs here in the state. And as a congressman, I would support that.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pendley, your transportation policy.
Honestly, I have not thought much about transportation policy. I have thought about roads and the roads in Georgia and how they're often in need of repair, and because there is a bacteria that lives in the dirt here in Georgia that eats petroleum. And that is what is required to make roads and asphalt. And that is why it's a constant thing in Georgia for our roads to be repaired.
Time. Thank you both very much. I know you weren't prepared for that question, but none of these questions you've been prepared for. Thank you for answering my question as well. That is all the time we have for our questions for our candidates. Each candidate will now have 60 seconds for a closing statement. Mr. Ferguson, you get the first closing remark.
Thank you. And panelists, thank you for coming. To the people of the 3rd District, we have a clear choice here. We can pick a direction for our nation that I believe is right, is based on conservative values, based on the things that we know to be right. As I have said many times during this campaign, this is about making the right decisions for our nation, but most importantly for the people right here in the 3rd District of Georgia. I've watched bad decisions almost destroy my hometown. I've seen what happens when we lose jobs. I've seen families torn apart because of that. We know how to fix that. We will fix that. We can make that. We are making the commitment right now to do so. We go through and we make sure that Washington is out of the way. We allow the private sector to flourish, and we create jobs, and we become the greatest nation in the world, and we are unapologetic about it. I'm asking for your vote on November the 8th. Thank you for your support.
Ms. Pendley, your opportunity for closing remarks.
Inovio Pharmaceuticals shocked the medical world in June of this year by announcing its Zika vaccine had already received FDA approval for human clinical trials. If all goes well, the shot will be available to the public in 2 years. Inovio's revolutionary approach to creating a new form of vaccination does not use weakened or dead forms of a virus. Rather, the new vaccine includes only the outer pieces of the virus, which trigger specific antibodies, which make them safer because there's no way for them to replicate once they're injected. According to the CDC, thimerosal has not been used in vaccines since the 1990s, so vaccines are safe and becoming safer for preventing disease. Please vaccinate your children, and please vote for me to represent District 3. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. That concludes our debate. We would like to remind the voters that the primary elections will be held on Tuesday, November 8th. The general election, rather, and early voting is already underway. Our thanks to our candidates and to our panel of journalists. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for arranging tonight's debate. For more information about the Atlanta Press Club and all of the Press Club debates planned for this general election season, please visit atlantapressclub.org. Stay with us for the debate among the candidates for United States Senate coming up. I'm Rickey Bevington. Thanks for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series. Have a great night.